What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, and today I'm going to be playing some Hero League on Heroes of the Storm. I'm going to be focusing solely on my playable character this match, Muradin Bronzebeard. So Muradin is a interesting character. He comes to us from the World of Warcraft franchise. He is currently the king of the Ironforge, and he was mentor to Prince Arthas before he became the Lich King. I do have to admit that as a Horde player, I do have a slight chip on my shoulder playing with an Alliance guy. But he's actually really cool. And one of the cool things about him is his ability to stun. And his secondary ability to just regenerate health on his own. So, the best way to play Muradin is to treat him as the warrior he is. You need to lead from the front. You need to be the first guy into battle and the last guy out of battle in team fights. Muradin is not a bursty damage guy, obviously, because he's a warrior. He's not an assassin. However, he's the only warrior that has the ability in endgame, if spec'd correctly, to solo a lane and to take out enemy fortifications very, very quickly. His ability sets are as follows. He has, by default, the Stormbolt. The Stormbolt is his primary attack. He throws his hammer, or a hammer, I should say, dealing damage to the first enemy that it hits. More importantly, it stuns the enemy for 1.5 seconds. The reason that is so important is in this game, stunning is everything. And I talked in a previous video about my frustration with what they've done to Uther the Lightbringer, the stun machine. Muradin is now the go-to stunner in my opinion. That hammer can stun, it will interrupt specials. So when Lili's using her 1,000 jugs, when Malfurion is using his tranquility, when Nazebo is getting ready to dump his ultimate, stunning is great. And what makes Muradin so great at this is Stormbolt can be spec'd later, as I mentioned, and we'll get into that as we go through his skill tree. Another primary ability Muradin has is Thunderclap. The nice thing about Thunderclap is it slows enemies down for 25% attack speed. So if you are in the middle of a fight and you immediately hit a Thunderclap, you're going to naturally be doing less damage. Although this isn't a true stun, this is definitely a combat control or CC ability that makes him useful. Now, since it does hit him in a circle, like a complete arc around him, where he's the center of the circle, it's obviously best used if you're in the fight, which again is why I say Muradin is best leading from the front. His third ability that he always has is Dwarf Toss. Dwarf Toss will leap to a target location and deal damage to enemies upon landing. This is a great ability to leap into or out of any team fight. It is best when immediately used with a Thunderclap. There's nothing like jumping into a fight and then slowing everybody down around you for a percentage of their attack speed. He has 2 different ultimates that he can select from. His first is Avatar. Avatar will transform him into this giant, like robotic-looking dwarf for 20 seconds, during which time he gains a health boost. It diminishes back when he turns back into normal Muradin. But more importantly, your basic attacks will stun enemies. So you don't get any stronger in terms of like hitting your spells aren't going to hit for double damage or anything like that. But basic attacks stun enemies, which is ridiculously overpowered. I love that ability. His alternate is Haymaker. Haymaker is a wind-up punch where he will stun an enemy hero. He winds up his hammer or his fist and punches. It deals an insane amount of burst damage, which knocks the target back. And as it knocks the target back, any enemy or anything that target hits, whether it be creeps or other heroes, they also take damage, which is really kind of nice. He also has the trait, I mentioned it before, Second Wind. What Second Wind does is it restores health per second when you've not taken damage for more than 4 seconds. When you're below 40% health, the increase in health regenerates per tick. Okay, so that's just a high-level overview of his skill set. Now I want to deep dive a little bit into how I play him and why I think he is one of the most, if not the most, dominant warriors in the game. For your level 1 abilities, I highly recommend Perfect Storm. Perfect Storm is mapped to your Q ability, so every time your Thunderbolt hits an enemy hero, it increases your hammer damage by 5 permanently. I cannot tell you how invaluable this is at endgame, and in this video you will see me really doing my best to make sure I always hit somebody with my hammer. Because at endgame, as this gets stronger and stronger, inspect the way that I'm going to explain how I like to play him, you can take down enemy structures in a very quick amount of time. If you don't feel like you're good at that ability, and keep in mind that it shoots like a straight beam similar to like Raynor's shot or like Jaina's ice bolt. If you don't feel like you're good at hitting that, and keep in mind if it hits a creep and not a hero, you don't get the bonus. It's got to actually hit an enemy hero for the 5% to increase. I recommend the Infused Hammer, which is good because it will give you mana back on every hit. And Reverberation, which is also a nice one, that will increase the attack speed nerf when you use your Thunderclap. So right now, as I mentioned, it was a 25% decrease. Reverberation will actually bump it up to 33%. So it's a nice... It pans out to be about another attack loss during a team fight, which is why it's a level 1 ability, because it's not all that great. But that would be my backups if you really felt like Perfect Storm. But to me, if you're not comfortable with using a directional attack like the Thunderbolt, I would recommend, or a Stormbolt rather, I would recommend not playing with Muradin. When you get to level 4, I like to use Sledgehammer. What Sledgehammer does is the Stormbolt increases 400% damage, but it's only to minions, structures, and mercs. So it will not give you a 400% increase to other heroes. And also, Sledgehammer will destroy 4 ammo from a structure. Now, a Muradin and a Sylvanas push in this game right now is completely unstoppable when you have this ability spec'd, because this does so much damage so quickly. I have, and I don't have it in this video, played enough where I was one-shotting forts. I mean, one-shotting, which is insane. So, is that an extreme case? Yes. Were we playing in a quick match against people who didn't know what they were doing? Yes. Did we purposely try to do that? Yes. However, my point is, if you're going to be pushing lanes and you're going to be in a lane, if you're going to be in a game where there's a lot of fortresses and lane-heavy presence, I highly recommend Sledgehammer. This would not work, in my opinion, in the Haunted Mines because there's only 2 lanes. But any other level, I would highly recommend this. If you don't, again, if you don't feel like Stormbolt is the ability for you, Third Wind is a really nice passive trait that gives you healing faster. If you don't have a pocket healer on hand, it will increase your healing tick, and it will also change your health threshold from 40% to 50%. So when you're down at half health, you start regenerating health even quicker. At level 7, I like to use Piercing Bolt because, again, I'm going for a Stormbolt build. Piercing Bolt will penetrate enemies and allowing a second hit. So if there's 2 heroes side by side, typically if you're going up against in a team fight, another warrior and a healer, or sometimes you'll get a glimpse of like a Nova and maybe a Jaina hanging around in the background, you just launch this into the fray, and as most team fights, things do get bunched up. There's a really good chance you're going to hit 2 people. And this does stack with Perfect Storm. So if you manage to throw a hammer through and hits 2 heroes, you will get 10 bonus damage, not just 5. I like that a lot. Landing momentum is pretty nice as well if you're in a lane where you don't have a healer, where you have to get in a game where you have without a pocket healer, where you have to get in and out of battle quickly. What that will do is on your dwarf toss, it will increase your movement speed by 20%. So when you land, you have a really good chance of either jumping and hitting, your thunderclap and running out, or if you're on a retreat, dwarf tossing away from the action and you get that little bit of movement speed. Sometimes it's enough to run away from a battle. But if you have a group of healing with you, Muradin never really closed the gap very well. I don't know if wasting a level 7 talent on the ability for him to get a little closer is worthwhile. That's just my opinion. At level 10, I cannot say enough about your first ultimate. It has to be Avatar. Haymaker is fun just to mess around with. And if you do find yourself on a team that doesn't have a lot of assassins, or the assassins aren't burning people down and you're always getting away with a quarter of a health, maybe then I would say Haymaker might be good to be able to blast that little piece of damage. Keeping in mind that as a team is retreating and you punch, it could punch through. So I have seen a Haymaker hit one enemy, kill him as it flies through and he takes out another enemy or two with him. However, short of that, Avatar is the preferred ability here because your basic attacks will stun. And if you're doing a lot of team fighting, stunning everyone just for that little bit does not allow them to do the ability that they were using is canceled, or the ability for them to retreat is halted. Because you get a little bit of health boost when you jump in, it is highly recommended when you hit Avatar. You immediately leap into the fray and just start wailing on everything you can, just to slow everybody down just enough so like your big hitters like your Jaina's and your Valas can hit their ultimates right in the pack of enemies, because you're basically serving them on a platter. At level 13, I recommend Burning Rage. Burning Rage will deal enemy damage to everybody around you in a small circumference. That's really nice to have if you're playing the way I recommend you play Muradin, in the fray. That's when you're going to get the most, because you're going to be, that aura is going to be hitting everyone around you. Thunderstrike. I don't know why that's a level 13 ability. It will deal 300% damage if only one target is hit. I don't know. Muradin is not played best soloing by himself if he's going on a PvP. I did mention earlier, and I do stand by this, that Muradin can solo lanes on his own in endgame. But why you would want to have a Thunderstrike, which putting a point in ability to do more damage on a single target, that's not really Muradin's swim lane, so I would avoid that. Healing Static is okay because it'll give you a little bit of your health back, which could be kind of nice on Thunderclap. However, it's only 1.5% of your maximum health for each target hit. So at best, in a big pack of enemies, you may get back 6 or 7% health. I guess it could be the difference in a fight, but I don't know. I think I would stick away from that. At 16, this is more focused on the Dwarf launch ability, and I like to use Heavy Impact. What Heavy Impact will do is it will increase, it will give basically him yet another stun. So when you land on the ground, everybody's stunned for 3/4 of a second. It's not so much the duration that they're stunned, it's the fact that they are stunned, and it'll interrupt whatever they're currently doing. Dwarf Launch is nice because it will increase the range of your ability by 50%. That's really good if you, again, I mentioned before, if you feel like you're in a game where you're not getting that final hit in and people are getting away too quickly, this would be a good way to close the gap. This would be really well married with the landing momentum level 7 perk that I mentioned earlier, where you get the 20% increase in speed because you'll launch farther and then run faster. So that could be a situational ability. However, if you're in a big heavy team fights like we were in this game, I think your best bet is Heavy Impact. At level 20, obviously pick the ability that continues to upgrade your level 10 ultimate, whether it be Unstoppable Force or Grand Slam. Rewind, which resets the cooldowns of your basic abilities. I don't really find that a very good skill to use. Hardened Shield is nice because it gives you a little bit of defense, but at end game, the team battles are going to happen so quickly that I'm not really sure if that skill would be best utilized. I would recommend at that point focusing solely in on your offense ability and doing the best that you can there. So as you see us playing through, that's just a rundown of his skill set. As you've been watching some of the gameplay, you've seen we are working together as a pack. I did have the ability in this game of being on TeamSpeak with everyone, so we were working very well as a team. But you could see just time after time how many times I've used the abilities that Muradin has to just stun an enemy when they're running away, to stop them dead in their tracks so the team blob can run them down. He's great in it's because he has so much health, just leaping in and wailing on everyone and slowing everybody down. Using his hammer to knock down fortresses to reduce the amount of ammo that they have is really, really nice because it's one less thing for you to get hit with. All in all, I have to say Muradin is a really, really robust character that works well in a lot of situations. But I have to advise that Muradin is really, truly best used in team fight situations because his offense is not that great. And as you saw there, I was hung out to dry and I died. And I didn't really have enough offense to burn down the enemies that I wanted to. And I didn't really have that one-shot ability to just knock everybody out. And when you're kind of left alone like that with Muradin, that's when you're going to run into a lot of problems. Dwarf Toss, again, I mentioned before, the Dwarf Toss is nice of a mobility where you can leap in or out. However, just keep that in mind. Something else I wanted to mention here, and I just actually noticed it now. This was actually recorded on April Fool's Day. So everyone has a really big-ass head. And I totally just... I opened up the video, and I'm not watching the stream. I was looking at a website reading through the statistics. Not like I have all these memorized, but... I forgot that everyone has a ginormous head, so this was a one-day ability only. So it's actually kind of funny I'm doing this serious video on like a player guide on how to play with Muradin, and he's got this big-ass head. But considering he's a short guy, it doesn't look that bad on him. His beard definitely fills out a lot more of his front chest than, say, the other characters. I mean, Vala, clearly right there, she's got a big old noggin. But you could see here, I'm actually glad I used my ultimate here. You can actually see as I'm auto-attacking this boss, he can do nothing. So normally when you're fighting in the Sky Temple, that boss will put that red triangle in front of you and it will be a stun on you. As you can see, I'm just completely locking him down, preventing that from happening. Now, I probably shouldn't have used it there on just such an easy boss, but it actually serves well in my video to explain why I think that's such a great ability. And there you saw me turn around and hit that guy with one shot. And look at how low I got him down. I went over and auto-attacked him once or twice and he died. So again, that's why, in my opinion, when you're playing with Muradin, you really want to invest in a Stormbolt build because later on, you're going to be pretty beastly. And you're going to be able to, you know, clear out lanes very quickly. And, you know, I mean, you're seeing red damage. When you're seeing any 4-digit number in this game, and it's big, bold, red damage like that was, you're really putting a hurting on somebody. And Muradin, I can't say he's a slow starter. I'm comparing him to, like, Asanya, who really needs to have a lot of fury to kind of enter a battle, or Arthas, who relies a lot on Frostmourne Hungers as his kind of primary attack, and he builds up to these big dump attacks. Muradin is kind of consistent throughout his gameplay in that he's not really that strong ever. He's more of a kind of just, I'm going to stand in the way. And when you have Muradin just kind of hanging out in the front, soaking up damage, doing occasional stuns, I think that's when you're going to find the greatest success with him. And I always do my best, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but I always try to be in the front or near the front of soaking in as much damage as I can. I believe this is about the end of the video. We're just going to kind of rush down. We had a really good game on this. I mean, we just really took it to these guys. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Do me a favor and comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to hear about your Muradin build. What do you think about this character? To me, he is the true tankiest tank of them all. I really enjoy playing with him a lot, and I think if you stick with the build that I mentioned and you really focus on Stormbolt, I think you're going to find that you have some pretty good games. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.